The first time an HOA tried to steal my house, they didn't come with bulldozers. They came with a fake map, forged rules, and the kind of smile people wear when they think nobody's going to call their bluff. That was mistake number one. Mistake number two was thinking a quiet widower on a Florida beach would fold easy. Nobody tells you this, but when you finally build the one thing in life that feels like peace, somebody always shows up wanting to control it. I wasn't born rich, didn't inherit a family estate, didn't have old money tucked away somewhere. I wrote code for years, and after my wife Ellen died, I took what I had left and bought a little oceanfront cottage on the Gulf. It was rough when I got it weathered siding, sagging porch, a roof that complained in the rain, but it sat on a private strip of sand where I could breathe again. I named it Ellen's Watch and rebuilt it myself. Grief does funny things. A porch swing can feel holy. Quiet can feel like medicine. One big reason I bought that place was simple. It was not in the Blue Dunes HOA. Their jurisdiction stopped one property short of mine. I checked before closing, checked after checked again because I know how these people operate. My deed was clean, county records were clear, and I didn't owe Blue Dunes a dime or a hello. Then one humid Tuesday morning, I walked out with coffee and found a thick white envelope taped to my gate. No stamp, no return address, just urgent 24-hour notice to vacate in red block letters. I thought prank for maybe 3 seconds. Inside was a notice from Blue Dunes claiming my property had been pulled into the HOA through an adjusted boundary evaluation. According to them, I was now in violation of community codes, exterior paint, fencing, solar setup, all of it. If I failed to vacate within 24 hours, they said they'd begin enforcement action. I laughed so hard I had to set my coffee down. Then I threw it in the trash and went back inside. Next morning, I was brushing sand off the porch when I heard heels clicking on gravel. Sharp, impatient little stabs, and there she was, Karen Westbrook, H.O., a President peroxide blonde, navy blazer, wedge sandals, clipboard tucked under her arm like a weapon. 2 board members stood behind her looking like men who'd never won a fight but loved an ambush. "You must be Mr. Hartman," she said. "Depends who's asking." "I'm Karen Westbrook, president of Blue Dunes Homeowners Association." She said it like I was supposed to salute. She asked if I'd received their notice. I told her if she meant the eviction cosplay taped to my gate, yes, I had. She launched into a speech about annexation rights and community votes. All this polished nonsense meant to sound legal if you didn't know any better. While she talked, I slipped my phone from my pocket and started recording. "Lady, I said you can't redraw a map and pretend my deed vanished." "It was approved by vote," she said. "I wasn't notified." "You were." "No, I wasn't. And even if I had been, you don't get to annex private property like you're invading Poland." That took the smile off her face. She told me I had until the next morning to vacate. I looked past her at the porch I rebuilt and something in me went cold. "You are on my property," I told her. "Remove yourself and your sidekicks before I call the sheriff." She turned away muttering, "This won't end well for you." That line bothered me not because I was scared yet, but because it sounded practiced. The next few days got quiet, and with people like that, quiet means planning. I pulled every document I had, deed, survey, county exemption letter, title, paperwork, scanned everything, printed everything, backed it up. That was also when Cody showed up. Cody had moved into Blue Dunes a few months earlier. Nice guy, brought beer, minded his business. He stood on my porch and said, "Dude, they are talking about you like you're a war criminal." Karen had done a whole HOA slideshow about me, photos of my house, diagrams, a red circle over my roof, the words "last holdout," like I was some enemy bunker instead of a widower with a toolbox. Then Cody said something I did not expect. "Let me go undercover." I laughed. He didn't. "I brought deviled eggs to the last meeting," he said. "They trust me." And that was the twist I never saw coming. The harmless new guy with snack trays turned out to be the best ally I had. Over the next week, Cody fed me screenshots and meeting gossip. Meanwhile, the HOA escalated certified letters, a white SUV parked outside, 2 long drones buzzing low over my roof. That's when I called Ava Morales. Ava was a property attorney who genuinely enjoyed chewing up abusive HOAs for sport. She read my paperwork, heard the recording, and said, "This is either the dumbest overreach I've seen in 10 years or the boldest. Either way, we're going to bury them." We filed a cease and desist, then a restraining order. Cody slipped us the crown jewel right after Karen's adjusted boundary document. Ava looked at it once and laughed. "They used a Google image," she said. "Your lot was photoshopped in." The judge signed the temporary restraining order fast. Karen and the Blue Dunes board were barred from approaching my property or contacting me at all. I laminated that order and nailed it right below my house number. For 12 days, everything went calm. Long enough for me to think the worst had passed. I added more hidden cameras anyway. Porch light, fence post, fake rock, even one inside an old fishing buoy. Then one Sunday near dusk, 2 men showed up at my door. They weren't neighbors. Heavy boots, black polos, thick necks, dead eyes. One said they represented a party interested in resolving my situation peacefully. I told him peaceful people don't sound like extortion with a handshake. They offered compromise, drop the restraining order, accept transitional oversight, avoid retroactive fines. I told them unless they had a warrant or a flaming bag of cash, they could get off my porch. They left mad. 2 nights later, they came back. I was in the kitchen slicing a mango when the motion light flashed on. I checked the camera feed and saw the same 2 men already at the door. Before I could reach it, they forced their way in. Hard. The frame splintered, one of them hit me, and I went down fast. I caught a boot in the ribs, then another. One of them grabbed my shirt and started dragging me toward the entry like this was some kind of legal removal. I remember the taste of blood, the smell of fruit and salt and busted wood. I remember thinking, so this is what community governance looks like. Then I heard shouting. Cody came first, running up from the road with a flashlight in one hand and his phone in the other. Behind him came Ruben, a shirtless Vietnam vet from down the way, barefoot and furious enough to scare hell itself. Another neighbor was already calling 911. The 2 goons panicked. One shoved Cody, hit him square in the throat, and the whole operation fell apart. They bolted for a black SUV and tore out of their spraying sand. I collapsed on the porch steps, coughing blood. Hospital said fractured rib, bruised kidney, concussion, stitches under my eye. Ava called and said, calm as ever. They just made the biggest mistake of their lives. She was right. The cameras caught everything: forced entry, assault faces, voices. Cody had audio. A neighbor got the plate. Then Cody found something even better. Blue Dunes Advisory Services, LLC, had wired both attackers money 2 days before the break-in. Police caught them near Tallahassee. One flipped in less than a day. Said they were hired to scare me, make me drop the restraining order, escalate if necessary. He named Karen. Had the text saved too. One said, don't leave a mark, just scare him. We need the property clean. That was the moment the whole thing stopped being HOA drama and became what it really was, a land grab in a polo shirt. Karen ran naturally, drained accounts, shut off her phone, hid out in Colorado under a fake name. Didn't matter. U.S. Marshals picked her up at a spa resort a week later. Court was colder than I expected, but Ava was on fire. Fraudulent maps, doctored minutes, intimidation tactics, illegal surveillance, hired muscle board reimbursements. While Karen was hiding, she laid it all out. Cody testified. Ruben testified. The judge looked like she'd had enough of suburban tyrants pretending fraud was community management. The restraining order became permanent. Blue Dunes was barred from touching my property in any way. Criminal referrals landed, civil suits followed, board members resigned, the hired thugs took plea deals. Blue Dunes started collapsing from the inside like rotten wood in a storm. And me, I learned something ugly but useful. Power doesn't always look loud. Sometimes it wears khakis, carries a clipboard, and smiles while it lies to your face. Greed calls itself stewardship. Control calls itself order. And the only thing that really stops people like that is somebody who keeps receipts, knows the line, and refuses to move. A week after the ruling, I strung lights between the palms, rolled coolers onto the deck, cleaned the grill, and invited the neighbors over. Not for some grand victory speech. I hate speeches, just to close the book. Cody brought a fire pit. Ruben brought meatballs that tasted like paprika and revenge. Ava showed up in jeans and a leather jacket, looking far too pleased with herself. The beach filled its sunset, folding chairs in the sand, bare feet, beer bottles, the surf rolling in steady behind us. Somebody toasted Ellen's watch. Somebody toasted survival. Cody stood up and called me the patron saint of not rolling over, which I told him was the dumbest thing I'd ever heard right before I handed him another burger. And standing there with the fire cracking, the waves breathing, and my house lit warm behind me instead of haunted, I felt something I hadn't felt since Ellen died. Home. Karen was in custody. Her fake little empire was done. The board that backed her was finished. The people they'd bullied had started speaking up too. Funny thing about courage, once one person stops being afraid, fear starts spreading in reverse. So let me ask you something. When power starts lying to your face and calling it order, where do you draw the line? Was what I did justice, revenge, or just survival with paperwork? And if you've ever had somebody try to bully you with rules, titles, or fake authority, Tell me your story.